Despite the turnout seen today, Lonmin says that most workers want to come back to work. CEO Ben Magara says they've conducted surveys via text messages and automated voice messages with 20,000 out of the 23,000 Lonmin workers that are on strike. Well, to discuss, we're now joined by the Executive Vice President of Public Affairs and Communications at Lonmin, that's Lerato Molabatse. Thank you for joining us, Lerato.
Thank you for having me.
How do we assess what we saw today, these passionate workers willing to come out? Not all of them presumably could come out because they had to be bussed in, with what you're saying, that workers want to return to the job.
Well, we have conducted surveys, and it was really not just surveys, but as part of an ongoing communication with our employees. We have been communicating with them via SMS. We have also communicated with our employees via automated voice messages to find out from our employees themselves what it is that they want. And whether or not they're in support of the strike and what it would take to get them to come back to work. A lot of them have cited that they would like to come back to work. We have 20,000 of our employees on cell numbers, and through that we have contacted them, and they have indicated to us, the majority of them have indicated to us, that they would like to return to work. However, because we cannot guarantee their safety, and a lot of them have actually said via those SMS lines that they fear for their safety, and therefore if we could guarantee that they could come back to work, that they would. We cannot do that, and we have said repeatedly to them that they need to speak to their leadership and say to their leadership that they would like to come back to work, and give their leadership the mandate to say that they would like them to come back to work.
It's very interesting to me. Is this the first strike in which you've reached out directly to workers via SMS, or is that usual practice?
This is the first time. I think since 2012, we have actually made sure that we reach out to our employees directly. We have gone on to a strategy that says that they are our employees before they are union members. And because of that, it is our responsibility and our duty to ensure that the communication starts with us and that we inform them of any developments with regards to whether it's their health and safety, whether it's regards to the wage negotiations, or whether it is regards any other issues that might pertain to them.
Is the strategy to undercut AMCU and to get workers to say no themselves to the union?
The strategy is for them to know what it is that we have put on the table. Because a lot of the times when negotiations happen, they happen behind closed doors. Members are not aware of the offer that we have put on the table. They can only be aware of the offer that the union has put on the table. So it's important for us that they also know what it is that we have put on the table.
Well, that's interesting, because AMCU says that you've gone behind its back, presumably using the SMSs, and offered 15%, whereas in negotiations you were offering 9%. Is that correct?
That is incorrect. In the negotiations, we have said repeatedly, and these negotiations, remember, are negotiations in good faith. We have repeatedly said that we're willing to settle within a settlement zone of about 9%. And we stand by that because the 12,500 basic salary is unrealistic and it's unaffordable. And quite frankly, it's unsustainable. And so in talking to our employees, it is to make sure that that message is loud and clear, that at the rate at which the company is operating, it is simply not realistic to expect a 12,500 basic salary.
Can we clarify the numbers? Because it has been confusing for people, because you talk in percentages. AMCU wants to stick to the 12,500 rand. Can we say workers now earning around 5,500, but you say that with the benefits, it goes up to almost around 10?
It goes up to about 10,000 rands, correct.
Now the issue is 12,500 rand over 4 years, as AMCU has asked for. So you're saying that's about a 30% increase. Over 4 years, it seems to me like it's less than 9%.
Remember that
these numbers are confusing
Remember
people.
that AMCU is asking for a 12,500 basic salary.
All right, so that's coming off
that is the
5.5.
difference.
Right.
That is the difference.
So we're looking at an increase of
150%.
Yeah.
Indeed. And even if you broke it up over a 4-year period, it means a 30% increase year on year.
Per year. All right. They've moved You've moved as well in the past, but today both sides were saying, you know, we're waiting for the other side to get back to the negotiation table to initiate. It seems to me like the CCMA seems very powerless at the moment. What is happening with actual talks?
Well, you know, through the intervention of the Deputy President and the Minister of Labour, the CCMA has been brought in to mediate in this dispute. And through that mediation, AMCU, ourselves and government have tried to come to some kind of a reasonable settlement. That was not possible because the only movement that AMCU made was 12,500 basic salary over a 4-year period. Now, what we're saying is that it is not achievable and it is just simply not realistic. Talks stopped a few weeks ago. They resumed again between AMCU and the CCMA called the negotiators back to the negotiating table at the CCMA into the negotiation process on the 1st, which was this last Monday. And we are still of the view that until we get to a point where there is an understanding that costs have gone up by about 18%, there is no way that at 5.4% inflation, 9% is an unreasonable, well, working within that 9% settlement zone is unreasonable because it, in real terms, it actually means at about 4% above inflation rate.
Realistically, you have to consider that the strike may drag on. Looking at the media coverage recently, some are thinking that mining houses may have a longer term strategy here, where you use the strike as a basis to justify layoffs in future, become leaner and meaner, perhaps turn to mechanization. If you look at the figures, it's not always negative for you, a strike, because we see the platinum price go up. The rand was weak a while ago. Is there a long-term strategy in place to hold out and maybe wait and see if miners will break or if you can lay them off?
I want to dispel that immediately and say that certainly for Lonmin, we are not talking mechanization at this point. So to say that that is a long-term strategy to lay off workers is not true. What is true, though, is that this strike is not benefiting us and it's not benefiting the workers. And that ultimately it will become a lose-lose situation. And we're trying to get to a point where both teams come out the winners. If we went for the 12,500 basic salary, I can tell you now that we will not be able to sustain it because there is no way that we can double our wage bill as it is. Because 12,500 basic salary in real terms means 5.2 billion rands in wages, which is simply not affordable. And it is not in our strategy to mechanize at this point. So we are wanting our workers back at work. So the idea is to get everybody back to the negotiating table and say, let us find a reasonable way to settle this.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming in this evening. So many issues. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. That was Lerato Molabatsi from Lonmin.